Despite its beautiful world and characters, Arknights Endfield is stuck in gacha hell, a game that doesn't respect your time and gives little in return. I waited months for it. The idea of a gacha game combining resource management and tower defense with action RPG elements initially grabbed my interest, and in many ways, Endfield succeeds on a simple principle. It's an endlessly playable factory simulator. But do you really want to play Arknights Endfield forever? Absolutely not. It's stylish, yes, but it lacks the depth that games in this competitive market need to stand out. The game spreads itself across a wide area, yet offers almost no substance. Battles are repetitive, missions are mundane and meaningless, and factory management is largely neglected. Overall, it's a frustrating experience, filled with tutorials and very few rewards. This makes it all the more disappointing because visually, Endfield is impressive. Character designs are fantastic, world building and stage layouts rival the best in the gacha genre. The music is great, and the artistry of the cutscenes is a pleasure to experience. Conceptually, the story is interesting. You awaken from a deep sleep as the ominously named Endministrator and help rebuild the planet Talos-II, but it gets stuck in the typical gacha storytelling style, offering more style than substance, with more filler than explanation. The area I was most disappointed in, and what I want to address first, is the combat. Battles are extremely tedious, so much so that I started skipping every fight I could.
War should be a fantasy of power, not an intense process. Gacha games are known for creating long, grind-heavy processes by making you face countless enemies to obtain better characters and equipment, but Arknights Endfield completely misunderstands this concept. Throughout the first chapter of the game, you spend most of your time fighting the same few enemies over and over. You either face the strange, rocky blob creatures called Angoloi, or the humanoid species usually with tentacles on their faces, the Landbreakers. I fought the same Landbreaker flamethrower guy at least 15 times, maybe even more, but I've blocked the others from my memory. Killing these enemies is quite time-consuming, and as your exploration level rises, the enemies don't get any easier. Their levels always match your team's. This would be acceptable if the combat system were interesting. The mechanics are very similar to Wuthering Waves, combination-based attacks with dodging and parrying elements. 4 team members interact to trigger combination moves and ultimate abilities that deal massive damage. But when I say massive damage, nothing about this combat system feels massive. Most of the time, you're just doing basic attacks and waiting for something to happen. Wuthering Waves offers flashy, stylish combat that focuses on individual characters' movesets and animations. Unfortunately, Endfield tries to imitate this but doesn't succeed. It's a shame. The character designs are excellent, but the game fails to capture your imagination during combat. There's so much visual clutter on screen that dodging and blocking become difficult. Not just difficult, actually. Frustrating better describes how it feels. Still, throughout the first chapter, I didn't have to dodge or block very often. Even though the enemies live for a long time, it doesn't feel particularly challenging. It just feels like a waste of time. The game keeps you playing, makes you grind, but for what? I switched to an account full of max-level characters and expected it to be amazing. The ultimate power fantasy is the key to a gacha account with everything you could ever want. Unfortunately, even max-powered characters lacked real combat depth. Enemies still absorb all my damage, and while special abilities and ultimates happen more frequently, it all felt very similar to my original key presses in Chapter 1. Even worse, the cutscenes between the lifeless battles show characters doing amazing things that don't match what you actually do in the game. In one scene, Wolfguard slices through multiple Angoloi in a single strike, and I wondered, why can't I do that in the game? Why do I have to hit them 400 times? Progress is painful.
Progress forms the foundation of a successful gacha game. It's important that your time feels valued and that the rewards you earn reflect that effort.
Arknights Endfield doesn't make any significant changes to your typical gacha formula. You struggle, wait for materials to respawn, click a lot of buttons, maybe use limited banner polls to get the character you want, fail, and then desperately spend some money to alleviate all the stress. Endfield feels excessively exploitative. The gacha system isn't the only problem. I can't fully comment on it because in our preview version we didn't have details about banner poll rates or how the pity system works, but the game is almost entirely built around completing simple daily tasks. For example, there are many recycling stations on the map. They are scattered and not near fast travel points. You need to visit these stations every day to boost your production efficiency. No combat, no puzzles, nothing. Just run there, press a button, collect resources. World exploration is largely like this. I loved exploring Wuthering Waves. I have to bring up Wuwa again, but it's one of the best examples of well-done gacha because the movement mechanics were fantastic. Climbing and gliding made the world feel alive. World puzzles were challenging and therefore satisfying. In Endfield, everything is slow and clunky. You can't climb, you can't glide, most of the time jumping itself is awkward. Sometimes you can use power generation to open doors, but that's hardly exciting, right? It just means pressing a few more buttons. You can upgrade your bases, warehouses, ship, cabins, characters, weapons, weapon cores, and stock distribution systems, but everything is relentless drudgery. Resources take hours to respawn. Choose carefully which characters to level up, because raising a 4-person team without opening your wallet is nearly impossible. Endfield does not respect your time. I played Endfield intensively for several days and dove deeply into the second chapter. I won't go into it here because I don't want to spoil anything, but I could feel that same grinding pressure and drudgery weighing on me. I've been here before, and this time nothing felt like it justified the grind. Note, a small spoiler-free note about the second chapter. There's water everywhere, and it looks beautiful, but you can't swim in Endfield. What? Style precedence over substance.
Factory management, another snag. I was pretty excited when I first started playing with factory management in Arknights Endfield. This is something completely new for the gacha genre, and I loved the idea of setting up such a huge, impressive factory that produces resources even when I'm not actively playing. You can do that. Kind of. Each region has its own outer courtyard hub that you unlock as you progress through the game. These hubs are interconnected and share resources. Ferrium ore mined in one region automatically gets transferred to the warehouse in another. However, to get the most out of your stock bonds, each courtyard needs to track a specific list of resources. I don't mind this. It gives a sense of direction about which resources to collect and what to build. But when it comes to character and weapon upgrade materials, the factory system shows its true face. You need to create a network to produce originium ore, which gets processed into originium powder, then turned into origio crust. These materials, combined with amethyst fibers, become amethyst shards, which are used to upgrade your characters. Then, when you move to the next region, you have to do the same thing again, but with a different ore, ferrium this time. Mine it, process it, mix it, shape it, use it to upgrade your characters. And you'll need to do it again, and again, and again. Probably until the heat death of the universe. The actual factory simulation mechanics are fine, however, there's nothing here to market the game purely as a simulator. At first glance, it seems complex, but overall it's fairly simple and a bit fragile. I can't imagine playing this on a mobile device. I'm sure I'll find plenty of YouTube videos about optimal factory layouts, but I really don't care. Alongside factory management, the game also has a full tower defense mode, which makes sense considering that the original Arknights was a tower defense game. I only tried it a little, but I can see its potential in the future, though mostly it just feels like something tacked on to the experience. Hypergryph seems to aim for comprehensiveness in every aspect, but in reality, they haven't done that much. There's the illusion of a complex game system in every corner, but after spending a couple dozen hours in the game, the complexity never really manifests. It just shows me more menus. Note,
Apparently, a large part of the budget went into tutorials because I was constantly bombarded with messages about setting up a new factory simulation, trying out a new operator, or transferring liquids between boxes. Thankfully, most of these tutorials are optional.
Missed potential. I can't help but feel a bit disappointed with Arknights Endfield. On the surface, it has the potential to be a perfect gacha game, and future updates might get it there, but right now it offers a slow and tedious experience. I don't think I'll be jumping back in on launch day as I had planned, because I felt drained far sooner than I expected.